I think solo leveling changed the game in terms of our main characters. Writers were in a weird position where they didn't really want to make the character too strong, because every challenge would be too easy, and they needed stakes, but still wanted to make them stronger than the rest. However, what's interesting is that some of my favorite Webtoon series have the overpowered protagonist archetype, but in a bunch of different ways, some more interesting than others. But that raises a question: why do they work? That's what today is about. I'm the Max Level Newbie is a series that comes out today. They're the same studio behind Solo Leveling Warrior, so you know it's at least worth checking out. The general plot is pretty interesting. The world of I'm the Max Level Newbie is at first quite similar to ours. Our main character, Jinya, is a streamer and a NewTuber. Wonder what that's supposed to be. Anywho, while it appears that Jinya is a mukbang type streamer, providing a chill stream while eating for viewers to relax and enjoy, he's also a video game streamer, playing the infamous Tower of Trials, a virtual reality game known as a bad game for being practically unbeatable. As for years, the entire player base of this one game dropped it, deeming it a trash game. Meanwhile, Jinya has stayed playing the entire time, practically learning each individual frame of the game, learning each degree to lean and move, learning the precise times to attack and dodge. After more than 11 years of playing the same game, Jinya manages to complete the 50th floor and beat the Tower of Trials, being the first and only one to accomplish such a feat. However, while he says he'll never play the game again, which, yeah, that's fair, you've played the same game for 11 years straight, maybe it's time to take a break, he couldn't have been more wrong. As 12 hours later, the world of Tower of Trials forms into his world. And that's not all. As if humanity fails to complete the tower in 90 days, humanity itself will be wiped from existence. The Reverse Isakai. If you're not into anime or webtoon series, this might be a little confusing. An isekai is when a standard human/earthling gets transported into a fantasy world. It's a very popular series, especially in the romance section. However, the reverse isekai is, rather obviously, the opposite, when the fantasy world itself gets transported into an average normal world, like our own. A lot of series have this kind of premise. Omniscient Reader is one of my favorite series from this genre, and Return to Player, The Lone Necromancer are both spectacular series that follow a similar premise. Even other series follow the same premise but don't show when the world got isekai'd. Series like The Druid of Soul, the Advanced Player Tutorial Tower, and one of the most popular stories in this genre, Solo Leveling. But so far, there's a major connected thread in all of these: the concept of the overpowered protagonist. All of our main characters are incredibly powerful in their stories. They all have extra skills, extra strength, extra knowledge, extra abilities. They're practically unstoppable in their series. In many of these series, it's simply that they're just straight up stronger. However, where I think these series work the best is when these characters are smarter than the rest. Omniscient Reader's Doja Kim is the best and closest example of the smarter, not stronger type. Just as a quick refresher of this series, Doja Kim is a relatively standard person. Not doing much in life, the biggest thing he has going for him is 3 ways to survive the apocalypse. A web novel he alone has been reading for 10 years. Oof, Ji-Yug really had one up on that 11-year game, didn't he? We start the series with the last chapter, and just a couple minutes after he reads the last chapter, the world of 3 ways to survive the apocalypse forms into his world, and Doja Kim is the only one who knows everything that'll happen. Sounds familiar, huh? These series follow a similar premise, and I really hope they go down similar paths, because Omniscient Reader is probably one of my top 3 favorite series. The reason for this is how the series handles its overpowered protagonist. Like I said before, I think writers were in a weird spot. They wanted to make their protagonists strong, but if they made them too strong, there would be no challenge, no conflict, no real stakes. They'd feel too perfect. Because of this, protagonists were strong, but they would still face challenges. But they also still wanted them to win. So they would often give them power boosts for no real reason. Maybe it was the power of friendship or family, or maybe it was them never giving up. But they created a weird problem where they wanted the protagonist to struggle, but ultimately win. And would sometimes use random lazy excuses to do so. I'm not trashing on these types of series, but it's just not the most elegant solution when it comes to these problems. Meanwhile, the overpowered protagonist doesn't have this problem. The protagonist is always strong enough to deal with the problem, at the trade of being interesting though. Right? That's where I think we're wrong. As I'd say these stories are often way more interesting because of how they handle that strength, as we see both sides to it. First things first, the strength doesn't come from nowhere. Omniscience Reader is the clearest example of this. Dokja Kim isn't magically stronger than the rest. In fact, he's probably the weakest one out of his party group, as some of his teammates have unique abilities and skills that make them better fighters. However, the overpowered part comes with the fact that he knows more about the world than anyone else. He becomes stronger than basically everyone because he knows so much, making the correct choices to get him that strength. However, that's what's so interesting. Dokja Kim's strength is a double-edged sword. We hear him lament this in one of the latest chapters. I was arrogant because I'd read the novel. I believed I could find a way no matter how the original story was twisted. Maybe that's why the situation has worsened. If this video is about I'm the max level newbie, why are we going so in-depth about Omniscient Reader? Like I said, I'm the max level newbie follows a very similar beginning to Omniscient Reader. Jinhyuk was the only person to finish the Tower of the Trials. Shortly after he finished it, the world of Tower of the Trials was inserted into his world, basically causing the end of the world, and he's the only one who's known all of it. We see this very clearly in episode 3 with this tree. It's a tree that gives fruit to increase stats. Very cool. However, while there's a group of people trying to get these fruits before the tree starts attacking, Jinhyuk knows better that while it's dangerous, the heart of the tree is even more valuable, and that he's willing to take that risk because to him, it's the best choice. To me, these are the best types of overpowered protagonists. Our characters aren't just naturally stronger than everyone else. Heck, Dokja Kim is kind of weaker at first, and so far Jinhyuk doesn't have any increase to the stats. Their strength comes from knowledge. Their strength comes from their choices. One of the biggest reasons I think the overpowered protagonist didn't really work was relatability. How much can you connect with this person? How much can you connect with a protagonist who challenges God with their fists? Not that much. But how much can you connect with a protagonist who's played a video game they really like just to see its ending? How much can you connect with a protagonist who's read a story no one else does because it matters so much to them? I'd say a lot more. And what helps is that these characters aren't perfect. Dokja Kim and Jinhyuk lived pretty ordinary lives beforehand. They were both struggling on their path, both questioning who they were and who they wanted to be. I definitely know how that feels. And they were both given opportunities to fight for a future based on the things that they love. And I totally know how that feels. It's practically the entire premise of my channel. There's a certain level of relatability in these characters, which is why I think they work so well, and which is why I'm really excited to see where I'm the max level newbie is headed. So go check it out now on the Webtoon app or on the Webtoon sites. But that's all for today. So like always, thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you next week. Take care.